Have a quorum. All members are present. Excuse me. All members are present. And if we could ask Mr. Blaine to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd appreciate it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Blaine, thank you. As I had mentioned earlier, we have a quorum. We first of all would like to recognize Deputy Landere, I hope I pronounced that correctly, with Spotsylvania County Sheriff Department. We want to thank him for being in place. And earlier we had a gentleman here. I don't know if he's still here. If he's here, if he could please rise. Mr. Johnny Johnson, is he here still? He must have stepped away. He is an artist in the area of great acclaim, and he came by to observe some of the artwork, and so we wanted to recognize him if he was still available. With that being said, I want to move to 1.03, the adoption of the agenda that's in front of us. Can we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Blaylock, second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Meyer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposes? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. We have no public hearing, and so we'll move on to 3.01. Freedom Middle School presents The Little Mermaid. Ms. Flenard.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Baker and Dr. Martin. This evening, students from Freedom Middle School are here to perform selections from their recent musical production of Disney's Little Mermaid Jr. Performances took place at Freedom on November 16th and 17th. As a result of their efforts, this group was able to earn over $700, which was donated to the National Kidney Foundation. The musical is under the direction of Susan Dane and Catherine McNichols. And tonight we will have a medley of 4 songs, so if we could hold our applause until the end, it would be greatly appreciated. Without further ado.
Talk about Ariel, that too.
What about her?
She sure is acting fishy lately.
I'll say, swimming in circles, chasing her tail.
That girl's up to her gills in something.
She's dizzy and she's dreamy.
Her head's up in the foam.
Her eyes have gone all gleamy. It's like there's no one home. She floats away the days, moping on the coastal shelf.
Is she ill or insane? Is it water on the brain?
What has got her bothered so?
It's the bend.
It's the flu.
Gosh, I wish we had a clue.
Oh wait, oh dear, good grief.
It's clear she's in love. She's in love. Pounding hearts, ringing bells.
Look, I think she's even wearing brand new shells.
She's in love.
In love, it's you.
She's in love.
Girls on September 9.
Glory be, Lord above. Got to be, she's in love.
Hey, Flounder, notice anything weird about you-know-who?
You mean Ariel? I'll say. She acts like she don't see me. She doesn't even speak. She treats me like sashimi left over from last week. You see her late at night, tossing in her ocean bed.
Shoot, 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 shoot.
And she sighs and she swoons and she's humming little tunes.
Even has a sort of glow.
What on earth could it be?
Any hammerhead could see that sign, that glow, that swoon. Oh no!
She's in love.
She's flipped and never failed. seafood dish.
She's in love.
She's found a deep sea hum,
She's in love.
and now she's as good as
See
some.
her blush.
See her grin, got to be love. She's in.
Ariel and someone swimming in the sea. Kissing.
She's in love. She's in love. She's in love. She's in love.
Plain to see.
Plain to see.
Mistake.
No mistake.
Look at those movies.
Look at those movies. Obvious what they must be. Symptoms of. She's in love. She's in love. She's in love. Yeah, yeah.
It just so happens that your daughter made a bargain. Swapped her voice to lend a man a bird's dry. Is it binding? Goodness, yes. Unbreakable. Unless there is a little something we could try.
Go on.
Yes. Perhaps we could arrange a sort of trade-off. Maybe swap your daughter's soul for, say, your own.
What?
Make this deal and set her free, or else she comes with me to suffer eternity alone.
It's not my soul you're after. It's my power.
Now which would you rather be? The king of the sea or father to his little girl?
The trident is a great responsibility, Ursula.
Nonsense, tries one handed over. Finally, the oceans belong to me!
Now you poor unfortunate soul, time's up, you're through. Now the power of Poseidon has been once again made whole. All the magic of the Triton and the shell in my control. And now dark reign forever over ocean, sea, and shoal.
Now see for yourself how banishment feels.
You poor unfortunate
When it comes to Dinkelhoppers, I'm your regular encyclopedia. Say that you want to have a head, you like the folks who live up there, do that or flap their wings. Flap their wings! And it'll look absolutely dandy if you use one of these handy little thingamajigs. Thingamabobs! Jigs! Pick up the Dinkelhopper just like so. Twirl the way it's twirling now. Give it a little kick, and there you go. And you know what they call the dogs? Meow. Wonderful stuff. That human stuff. Can't get enough. Of human stuff. And we're the authorities. No need for us to bluff. Because we're great at explaining human stuff.
What's that?
A snorkelet. Wow. When they invented snorkelets, just by chance, suddenly life was not enough. So much of what you use to make folks dance, and give it a blow and then voila! Wonderful stuff. And human stuff, if you're a buff. Of human stuff. It's marvelous, dependable, completely A-OK. Which sounds absurd, but take my word, that's what the humans say. Wonderful stuff. That human stuff, none of it flop. Not human stuff. And heaven knows it's worth the pros from us to get no duff. And what you gotta do is a magic. I think I'm a what? A watching the game. That's all you need to bring you up to snuff. Right up to snuff. With proper
Wow, what a performance. Who needs to go to New York? Broadway is right here. Let's give them another round of applause. Excellent job, Freedom Middle School. Excellent job. Before we go any further, is there any board members that would like to make a comment?
He's fabulous.
I think it was unanimous. Fabulous, fabulous. We can move on now to 4.01 National Young Arts Foundation Program finalist, Ms. Flanard.
Thank you. We would like Alexis Devines to come forward at this time. Alexis is a junior at Riverbend High School, and we're pleased to share that she has been named one of the 166 finalists in the National Young Arts Foundation Program in the theater category. The finalists were selected from 693 of the nation's most promising young artists in the literary, visual, design, and performing arts. Selected from the largest pool of applicants to date and representing artists from 42 states, young art winners receive cash awards, mentorship, and training from acclaimed artists, opportunities to participate in young arts programs, and guidance in taking important steps towards achieving their artistic goals. This young artist program, this year's finalists have the opportunity to participate in the 36th annual National Young Arts Week in Miami during January 8th to 15th. So hopefully you'll be nice and warm in Miami. All winners become part of a professional network of over 20,000 alumni artists, and they're eligible to participate in the Young Arts regional programs. Congratulations, Alexis. And if we have any family in the audience that supports Alexis, if you could please stand to be recognized. And Mom. And she's off to, you may recognize that she's off to a chorus program. So we're going to.
If you could continue, Mrs. Flanard, 4.02.
Thank you. At this time, we would like to recognize Alyssa Funine. She's a junior in Latin 4 at Riverbend High School. If you would please come forward. We're proud to announce that Alyssa has been elected president of the Virginia Junior Classic League. This marks the very first time in school history that we have an elected president for this state office. Alyssa's office makes the 11th state officer from Riverbend High School. And congratulations, Alyssa. And if we have any family that are here for Alyssa, if you could stand to be recognized. Or, there we go, thank you.
And if you could continue to 4.03.
Thank you. We do have quite a guest list coming before us this evening. We would like Cortland seniors Philip Wiltonmuth, Julie Peel, Sophie Holmes, Nicole Babbitts, Connor Freeman, as well as juniors Katrin Thompson and Victoria Williams, and freshman Grant Davis to come forward at this time, as well as the Cortland's German teachers, Ms. Honinger and Ms. Reinhardt. For the fourth consecutive year on November 21st, Cortland High School German program has won the teen category in the National Gingerbread House competition in Asheville, North Carolina, for their Once Upon a Time entry. This winning streak is unprecedented, and it was recognized in the media in several countries in Europe as well as here at home in the United States. Competitive gingerbread house building at the national level does not only require imagination, creativity, and dedicated work for almost 3 months, but it also has an interdisciplinary approach that includes math, technical drawing, physics, chemistry, history, culinary arts, and most importantly, a collaborative problem-solving skills. Thank you to Ms. Honinger and Ms. Reinhardt for facilitating this group for our students, and congratulations to you all. Let's see if you can go for number 5. And if we have any family members here representing our students and supporting them, if you could please stand to be recognized.
And if we can move on to 4.04.
Thank you. We are proud to display at the school board office the artwork from 6 of our schools. They are Brock Road Elementary art teacher Rebecca Baring, Smith Station Elementary art teacher Daphne Rogers, Spotswood Elementary art teacher Aaron Rogers, Freedom Middle School art teacher Andrew Beckers, Nye River School art teacher Pam Allen, and Chancellor High School art teacher Leanne Houston. We celebrated these student artists previously with certificates of appreciation at a reception held in their honor prior to this meeting.
And move on to Superintendent's Award.
Thank you. December's superintendent winner is Via Nguyen, an Art 2 student at Riverbend High School. If you could please come forward. Her artwork is hanging in the superintendent's office this month. Miss Nguyen's art teacher is Michelle Treacle, and if you could come forward, please. Congratulations. And we have Dad in the audience that is supporting this young artist, so thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flenard, for the award presentation. We want to thank all of our young people for all the magnificent work they are doing and they continue to do throughout this division. We're so exceptionally proud of all of them. There's so many great things going on in our division that would command recognition. We just don't have time to recognize them all. So on behalf of the school board, we want to thank each one of those that were brought forward today to be recognized for the many talents that they have displayed. But we want to thank all those that on a daily basis go above and beyond to represent this division very well. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to 5.01 public comments. Dr. Martin, if you would, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and happy holidays. The public comment segment of our board meetings is a time to receive recommendations, suggestions, and concerns and comments from the general public. Each speaker is allotted 5 minutes, and we ask that they clearly state their name, address, and/or voting district for the board. A speaker may request additional time for the board should one's 5-minute allotment expire. We ask that you keep your comments focused on the issues and that all speakers maintain a level of decorum and mutual respect for one another. At this time, Mr. Chairman, we do not have anyone that signed up.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? If you could please come forward. Is there anyone that would like to address the board? Please come forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comments and we'll move to board member comments. We'll start with Dr. Meyer and then Mr. Blaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and fellow board members. I would like to, communicate that our calendar committee is going to be meeting tomorrow afternoon at 3:30. And it is our expectation that we'll have something to bring to the board in January for its consideration on the calendars for the next 2 years. So that's in the works, and we're closing the gap and hoping that that will be successful in our effort tomorrow. We'd like to also acknowledge that Our Northeast Regional Forum, our date is, please mark your calendars for Wednesday, April the 19th. We're working on a time and a schedule and a format, but we have locked in a speaker, Dr. Stephen Constantino from the Department of Ed, who will be speaking to us on the new accreditation matrix, which affects every one of our schools.
What is that?
It's going to be on Wednesday, April the 19th. So mark your calendars. I'll bring it up several more times. And as we work on the format for the agenda for that night, we are considering having a later start rather than a 5 o'clock start, a little later because of people traveling. That was our comment from last year. So I'm working with Fairfax City and the exact location with them, but please mark your calendars and we'll proceed with that. But we do have our speaker lined up from Dr. Constantino from the Department of Ed. Also want to give our thoughts and prayers to the families. One for Rob McDaniel, who passed away on December the 9th. It was in the obituary today's paper. He was a former superintendent. He brought me to Spotsylvania County in July of 1985, and he was superintendent with Spotsylvania County for 4 years. An excellent man to work with, and sorry to hear, his passing. Also, a former employee with Spotsylvania County that I work with, former supervisor of transportation, Tom Paramore, and he passed away on December the 4th. So I want to acknowledge these two former employees, and our thoughts and prayers are with their families. Also, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and please safe travels throughout the holiday. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer. Mr. Blaine.
I want to, just for a few moments, speak to members of our entire division, whether you're here this evening or at home or wherever you happen to be. And I include my fellow board members in my comments. As we complete the 2016 year here, and I look back over the many personal contacts I've had with members of our staff, and what I've learned about you, your habits, your attitudes, and your work with our division, I'm constantly impressed, and I have to repeat that, I'm constantly impressed with your dedication to our fundamental purpose, and that's providing a superior education to our children. Going the extra mile seems to be a credo that's built into everybody's modus operandi. As an illustration, last week, several members of our student support staff, assisted with our social work team led by Michelle Swisher, were distributing food to some of the 385 children and their families who are currently homeless and attend Spotsylvania schools. That's a phenomenal number, 385 homeless boys and girls. And how come they were doing that? Just because a need exists and everybody just goes that extra mile, and each of you seem to do that on every occasion. And I can't help but tell you that it's an honor to be associated with you all. And with that, I'd like to say my Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and your families.
Thank you, Mr. Blaine. Ms. Blaylock.
Thank you, Mr. Braswell. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Twigg.
Hey, lots of events going on out in our neck of the woods in Livingston District. Livingston Elementary had their Winter Fest recently, and it was an excellent service and Christmas cheer to all of our students. And special thanks to our Principal Cindy Franzen and team for making that a tremendous success. Excellent Christmas concert at Spotsylvania High School. Orchestra, band, and choir. We have lots of musicians and quality artists in our territory, and as demonstrated this evening through Brock and Smith Station Elementary. Also, Livingston Supervisor Greg Benton and I were recently had the pleasure to attend 5 schools that cover our territory, and I appreciated seeing the productivity that's going on out there, excellent leadership, by our principals and staff, and lots of quality teaching by my observation. So congratulations to all of you who I've seen and to everybody else, because it's just a common flashcard around our community. So with that, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Twigg. Ms. Shelley and then Ms. Gramp.
I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and hope you all have a blessed 2017.
Ms. Gramp.
Nothing.
I want to first of all thank this entire school board. It's hard to believe that this is the last regular scheduled school board meeting of the year. The year went by very fast, and we managed to accomplish a great deal. And I am really honored that of the hard work that this board has put in order to do the things that needed to be done. But even more so, I am really honored and thrilled that we have a staff that makes us look good when we don't really deserve it. So I want to thank our staff for all the great support that they have given us throughout the year and making sure that this school board is productive. We on the school board, we're just so appreciative of that hard work. You just can't imagine. Sometimes there's not enough words to express our gratitude for the effort that's put forth to make sure that we run a first-rate school division, and we're so thankful. With that being said, next year we're going to come together and reorganize this board, and we're going to have some challenges that face us in terms of the budget. That's always the first battle of the year, and we're going to have to be very innovative, very creative, and we're going to have to think a little bit out of the box, because things aren't going to be as usual, if you would say, if that's a good way of phrasing it. So we're going to have to gather everyone up for their support. We're going to have to ask folks to think out of the box, and sometimes that's a little bit discomforting, but it's going to be important to be ahead of the curve so that we can have another successful school year. And so I just share that with you. And finally, I just want to take an opportunity to salute our superintendent. What a heck of a guy that we work with, and we are so grateful for your leadership. And I will say, as the board chair for this year, I've just been tickled to death to work with Doc. And we've learned a lot from each other. And I just can honestly say we love pushing each other for excellence. And I appreciate the push. And I know I ask a lot of whys, but I appreciate your answers. So I just want to thank you, Dr. Baker, for all your support. And with that being said, too, Dr. Meyer, I thank you for mentioning the former employees of our division that served us well and have passed away, and we didn't have an opportunity to take a moment to offer a moment of silence on their behalf. And so if we could, if we just take a few seconds to remember those employees that served us so well in a moment of silence. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to just say Merry Christmas to everyone, and have a Happy New Year. Dr. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Braswell, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I appreciate, and I know I can speak for many of the staff that are here and those who are going to sense your continued support of me and of them your appreciation we appreciate your appreciation. I think that is probably the best way to say it. It does mean more than you know. And I also appreciate what our schools are doing in terms of continuing to serve their communities during this busy time of year, opening up the schools for not only to display the talents of our students, but to open up our schools to support our community's needs and to help all of us go through what we hope is a joyful and a peaceful season, but sometimes it can be fraught with challenges. And so it's been so great to see our community supported through what we do in our schools. I also thank the board, Mr. Braswell, thank you for the reference to pushing each other. You know, I really do appreciate how our school board is engaged and how you continue to learn and we learn from the work that we do together, and that regardless of what the complexity of the issues are, you continue individually and collectively to keep your focus as leaders in governance on what is in the best interest of students and the best interest of our children. And I thank you for that. And those are the types of issues that are worth, Mr. Braswell, us going to the mat for and going down together to make sure that we continue to fight for what is best for our students in this coming new year. So thank you for your leadership, Chair Braswell, for helping us through a very challenging year, but a very rewarding year in terms of the accomplishments of our school division. And I also wish everyone out there happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. We'll move on to 6.01, board committee reports. Do we have any board committee reports? Mr. Blaine.
Excuse me. And before I start that, I realized after I quoted 350 homeless kids, we actually have 385. I was reminded of that, and that's a lot of young people who benefit from our activities. The governor's school's got several things going. The each of the sites will host their annual holiday alumni breakfast at the end of December or early January. Immediately following breakfast, alumni will meet with CGS seniors to discuss their college experience, as well as meet with underclassmen to discuss how the CGS curriculum, culminating project, and class expectations directly correlates with college academic life and career opportunities. It's a very active group.
Thank you, Mr. Blaine. Ms. Blaylock.
Just to update my colleagues on the board, our local finance team is postponing their meeting for this month until January due to some attendance problems in the holiday season. And to follow up on what Dr. Myers said, the calendar committee will be meeting tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms. Blaylock. Any other comments? Any other board committee comments? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to 7.01, the consent agenda. Dr. Martin, excuse me.
On the consent agenda this evening are the minutes of the November 22nd, 2016 joint work session with the Board of Supervisors, the November 28th, 2016 workshop meeting, and the November 28th regular meeting. And finally, donations, which are usual and customary. Staff asks that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Thank you. Properly moved by Ms. Gramp. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Blaine. Any discussion? We'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposes? Hearing none, the consent agenda is passed 7-0. We'll move to 8.01, approval of the school board's 2017 legislative priorities. Background information: during the November 28th workshop meeting, the school board members discussed amendments to the Virginia School Board Association legislative position statements as approved at the convening of the Delegate Assembly on November 17, 2016. School board supports this body of position statements in its entirety. To provide a focused direction for the advocacy of, as a locality, the board developed its 2017 legislative priorities position statements. These 10 priorities are aligned with both the VSBA and the Virginia Association of School Board Superintendents position statements. The 2017 school board legislative priorities are attached and presented this evening for board approval. The administration's recommendation is that the school board approve the 2017 legislative priorities as presented. Do we have a motion?
I will so move.
Moved by Ms. Shelley, and the second by Mr. Twigg. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I may interject.
Okay,
I just wanted to make mention a correction there. There were 10 priorities, and I just wanted to mention that their amendment made it 12 priorities, and that's the change. And that was the update to the original list that was posted on board docs.
Thank you for the correction. So the motion is for 12, the 12 positions, not 10. Okay, and.
Have we had a second yet?
And the second by Mr. Twigg. Okay, Ms. Blaylock.
And just to follow up on Dr. Martin's comment, these two additions are additions that were in our legislative priorities in 2014, if you remember. They have just been put back into play. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Blaylock. Any other comments? Ms. Shelley.
I just want to mention that we've had these to look over, and as Ms. Blaylock said, we did have a couple prior. One of our pet peeves is our unfunded mandates, and that is one of the priorities as well, our legislative priorities. And this past weekend, I did attend a town hall meeting with with one of our delegates, and I mentioned in that meeting, because we were talking about adding more time for physical activity, which is an awesome idea. But once again, is there going to be funding for it? And are they going to make that part of the elementary school day? So I brought that up as well.
Thank you. A very salient point. Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Any other comments? We'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. 8.02, approval of school board regulation BDDC-R agenda format. It says during the November 28th workshop meeting, the school board discussed streamlining the regular meeting agenda. Regulation BDDC-R is presented for approval this evening based on that discussion. It's administration's recommendation that the school board approve proposed revisions to the school board regulation BDDC-R agenda format as presented. Do we have well, I guess we can let Ms. Gramp give us the motion. Would you like to give us the motion?
Sure. I would. Well, we are on changing. What wording do you want us to use here?
Say again.
We're just moving to use
moving.
the adjusted format to the agenda, which
Right.
we have previously discussed.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ms. Gramp, for your information,
I'll
was
second it.
instrumental in that proposal, and seconded by Mr. Blaine. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Ms. Shelley?
Looking at it, and I think we had left something off that we had discussed in our meeting before, is there is no place for special reports, and we do have special reports, so I think we need to add that into the agenda, is maybe before the board committee reports or before the action items. Wait a minute, I'm looking again. Yeah, maybe before the action items. There's no special report section. So like, for instance, when we get our special education plan and our CTE plan, those types of things, I think we need to have a place on our agenda for that.
Okay. Any thank you for your comment. Any comments to what Ms. Shelley had mentioned?
Mr. Chair, could I just make a suggestion?
Okay, go ahead, Dr. Meyer.
What we could do, Ms. Shelley's comment is on target, that, I think we should have special reports on there. Could it not be where we have, trying to read this, item 14, board committee reports, could we say reports and then under that include board committee and also have special reports? Would that not suffice?
You could read it, you could have it read board, committee, and special reports.
Right, or reports A, or point one, board reports, 2, committee, special reports. Or
Because
vice versa.
sometimes, we're not always will we have special reports, but sometimes the superintendent needs to brief us, and we want to be briefed in advance so that we have an opportunity to consider an items before we're going to vote on them.
Okay. Any other
I
comments?
agree with what Mr. Blaine is suggesting, that would incorporate both into one.
'Cause-
The only other piece that
I'm sorry.
would be missing that I thought we talked, but then I can't remember the final resolution was, sometimes we want to hear from the superintendent, and there may be a way to incorporate that under reports as well. Because sometimes he needs to brief us, he or she, the superintendent needs to brief us on items that are of public concern as well as for the board. So that, and Ms. Shelley had mentioned that it wasn't covered, I'm sorry. I took
No,
your
no,
word.
thank you. But what I would say, and now on our agenda, we have special reports, and then underneath special reports, there's board committee reports. And if we did have a special report, it would be, special education plan or CTE plan or whatever they were, would be under special reports. Maybe we could just change the name to reports and then have superintendent report, board member reports, and special reports that would all fall under that heading if we, when the need comes.
Okay, point taken.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because this is an area that we don't always have reports.
Right.
So if we just follow it, just reports.
Reports.
And leave it, we don't need to make it complicated, and we just, if we have them.
We can add them in.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I do have one more question, comment. We have said we were not going to have board member comments anymore, specifically on the agenda. Would those reports, though, if we have announcements and such that we may have, don't forget to get your shots, or something is coming up, would that come under our board reports, or when would that time frame be for us to be able to make sure that the people are aware of those types of things?
Yeah, it's under committee reports.
We discussed that, that's under committee reports.
The board committee
That's where that would be appropriate to speak on any items that you might want to add, but those fall under committee reports.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Twigg?
And if I may say, your time to speak would cover any of those loose ends.
Right,
and
right.
Under new business.
Precisely.
Or wherever we
Yeah.
delegate it. So,
Under new or old business, right.
so we'll still have opportunity to get the word out.
Yeah, that's correct. Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay, so we need to amend the motion to include comments, make it, what item is that? To make, Ms. Grant, you're going to have to, we need to amend your motion to include comments. So we want to give you an opportunity to amend that.
I move to approve the new agenda format as presented with the amendment to add the comment section, which will include the special reports, board and committee report, superintendent report.
Thank you. Is there a second? Before we go into any unreadiness, is there a second to the amended motion?
I will second.
Second by Mr. Blaine. Okay, your question?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that if we put in that, as the designation of that area, board, comma, committee, comma, and special reports, that just about covers everything. If the superintendent doesn't always make a report, automatically we consider it a special report.
Yeah, it's already, it's depending on if there's a special report. It's contingent. It's not something that is specified in the agenda.
And
it won't be a comment, it'll be 6.01, just like it is now, 6.02 or 6.03.
Yeah,
Just like it's listed
something
now
that
on
we've
the
added in.
agenda.
It's contingent, not something that's specified to be done each meeting. Does that answer your concern, Mr. Blaine?
It's okay, yeah.
Okay, okay. Any other concerns? Any other concerns? We'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposes? Hearing none, the motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We'll move on to 8.03, approval of the purchase of Benchmark Literacy Phonics Program. Ms. Baleko.
Good evening, Mr. Braswell, members of the board, Dr. Baker, and Dr. Martin. 2 years ago, in February of 15, roughly, in accordance with our local textbook adoption policy, Spotsylvania County Public Schools reviewed and selected Benchmark Literacy as our K-5 language arts instruction. Though part of the adoption, phonics resources for kindergarten through second grade were not purchased due to limited funds. This proposed purchase today includes a classroom kit for phonics for each K through 2 classroom. It includes the teacher resource system, classroom posters, sight word and picture cards, and multiple sets of decodable books appropriate for each phonics level. In addition to the teacher kits and student materials, 4 days of professional learning for teachers is included to support implementation. The actual purchase of $175,140, includes Benchmark Education Startup, Spiral Up, and Level Up, which are the 3 different levels of phonics for K1 and 2 folks. The funding source is fiscal year 2016 carryover funds. It is administration's recommendation that the school board adopts and purchases the Benchmark Literacy Phonics instructional materials utilizing the VDOE approved vendor.
I'd like to make the motion to approve Benchmark
Thank
Literacy.
you, Ms. Baleko. Excuse me, Baleko, excuse me. And thank you, Ms. Baleko. And we have a motion by Ms. Shelley. It's getting late. And we have a second by Ms. Blaylock. Thank you. Thank you for bailing me out. So it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Go ahead, Ms. Shelley.
Just came to me. So this is phonics, K1, 2. But sometimes we have K1, 2 students who don't need phonics, who are reading.
Absolutely.
And are they just using the upper level resources at that point, or is there something else in this for them?
Well, in addition to phonics instruction, we also have word study, and we also have writer's workshop. And those 2 components will help the student that is already reading and writing on a level that the teacher determines through assessment would be better, kind of geared toward that.
Any other questions? Mr. Blaine.
Not a question, just a comment. I can't be more pleased because this is where the foundation for the next 12 years happens. So my compliments to the staff on thinking ahead and moving toward improving that level at that level. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Blaine. Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposes? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. Thank you. We have informational items, usual and customary. Unfinished business.
No, yes, just a reminder that the board's next meeting in January is listed on that information item as January 9th, 2017, and that would be when the board does its reorganization.
Thank you. Unfinished business. Any unfinished business? New business. Ms. Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Braswell. I have 2 new business items. First, Dr. Baker, I'm going to ask you, I would like to get a report on all of the testing that our students are doing, from PALS testing to benchmark tests across, and do it like by maybe K1, 2, early primary grades, up middle school. I know high school's a little bit different, but what assessments are our students taking for reading or math, and just kind of want to see how much testing our students are receiving. So that's my first item. My second item is gifted programs. I know that we are looking into possibly expanding our gifted program, so I would just like to see where that is going, with maybe adding in gifted in Korean and performing arts or visual arts or whatever other gifted programs that we're looking at adding to for our students. So I'd like to just get reports on those two things, please. Thank you.
Okay, any discussion? Any discussion from other board members? Oh, I have one question on the issue of the amount of tests. Is there a particular reason why you want that information?
I just kind of want to have an idea of how much testing students are doing, because, we've got that end of the year lovely SOL test, and I'm being very facetious. But what other things are we doing up to that point, just to see how much testing our students are doing? I want to make sure that they're getting instruction and that, the testing is appropriate.
All right, thank you, thank you. Ms. Blaylock.
If Ms. Shelley wouldn't mind, if I could piggyback off what she's asking staff to produce, if we could talk about the midterms in that report. I know there's conversations about should we continue with midterms or drop that altogether. So if we could just add that to the report, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? So on that particular question that Ms. Shelley has, is that something that we need to, as a board, vote on? Or is that just, okay, thank you. Any other new business? Any other new business? Seeing none, we'll move to closed meeting items. Let it be resolved that the board conduct a closed meeting for the following purposes: consideration of candidates for employment, assignment, promotion, demotion, and discipline of employees or resignation of employees who have a contractual commitment to the board as permitted by 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia. We have a motion. Moved by Ms. Blaylock, seconded by Mr. Twigg. All in favor? Any opposes? Hearing none, we are in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Gramp, seconded by Dr. Meyer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are back in open session with a 7-0 vote. Certification of closed meeting. Whereas the Spotsylvania County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such a closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Spotsylvania County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting. Can we have a motion? Moved by Ms. Gramp.
Second.
Second by Dr. Meyer. Roll call vote, starting with Ms. Gramp.
Gramp, aye.
Blaine, aye.
Braswell, aye.
Blaylock, aye.
Meyer, aye.
Shelley, aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Martin, if you could, item from closed meeting.
Motion that the school board accepts the recommendation of the superintendent for personnel appointments, assignments, resignations, and retirement as presented in closed meeting, and permitted by Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Do we have a motion? Moved by Ms. Shelley, seconded by Dr. Meyer. All in favor? Any opposes? Hearing none, motion carries 7-0. Motion, 14.01, adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Grant moves to adjourn, seconded by Ms. Shelley. All in favor? Any opposes? This meeting is adjourned.